Okay, so this is kind of just my, view of the world around, the startup team, timing, product, market. You order them any way you want. Every startup's different. I'm not going to put a priority on one of these things. But I think they're important sort of quadrants when you're looking at a business, and you're going to have your strengths. Now, I think that what I find interesting is, if you've seen the Seth Godin, Purple Cow book, I think one of the things for us was, what was our purple cow? We're a startup. We have no technology. We have nothing to show other than this kind of lightweight demo, a bunch of slides and a story. So, what did we lead with? And I think what's interesting is that, what we led with was, we led with our team story. And I don't think we led with a rock star team story. I'm not Mark Andreessen or, one of these Valley rock stars. And by the way, there's no rock stars anywhere in the planet for technology other than in the Silicon Valley. So it doesn't matter how big of a startup you've ever sold anywhere else. You'll never be a rock star. So the reality is that, what we were really selling was the team, but our team had a bunch of knowledge about a market. So if you go back to this slide, really what we're doing is intersecting a bunch of these bubbles together collectively. It's not just one thing where it's like, oh, we're a team play, or oh, we're a product play. It was really kind of an intersection, and I think what this 100 and gazillion years of business intelligence experience really says is, we had knowledge of the market. We understand the market. We understand the needs in the market and the challenges in the market. And that was a big leading part of my story when I went out and started telling the story, A, to angel investors, and B, to venture investors. And I think what's important about that is that you need to convince people, especially in an early stage business, that they can trust you as a team to be able to pull this off. Because you're selling them vaporware, you're selling them nothing. It's an idea. It's not like we're profitable yet. So they have to believe in something. It has to be some kind of a track record. And obviously you want to be able to explain to them that your product has intellectual property, it's unique, it's really cool. But when all else fails, when the product is having its challenges along the way, the team is going to be able to figure it out. And so that tended to be what I led with. The other reason why I led with that from a pitching perspective when I was going out on the road and selling the deal was that it got me meetings, and that's the reality, is that it got me in the door, right? And Mike was very instrumental in helping me meet a lot of venture capitalists. I've never done a venture-backed business before. This is the first one. Our first one was family-funded. The other ones I've done have all been organic or self-funded. So this was the first venture-backed one, so it's been a little bit of an adventure for me. And meeting VCs, I don't know any VCs, so Mike's been really helpful. And then, of course, I just called up people as well. And having a reputation and a track record and say, hey, I did this crystal thing, they go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. That's really helpful in getting your foot in the door. So I tended to kind of lead with this part of the story, even though I think our product and our market story was potentially equally as strong, but it tended to be the thing that you kind of tell the initial part of your story with. So the other piece is, solving a real problem. I think what was really important for me when I went out and pitched was not to spin a technology story, even though I thought what we were building had some neat technology to it, and I think we're even getting stronger around technology as we progress. But I think the key was more of a use case driven model. It was market driven, and we were really solving a problem. And so the goal was to demonstrate that there was a true problem in the market and we were really solving something. And so for us, it was really simple. I said to Mike, how many people do you think cobble data together in spreadsheets every day inside of a business, right? And I think the answer, whoever works in a business here, I can find every single business. Right now, there's someone in a business cobbling data together in a spreadsheet. And if they're doing that, that's our use case. We want to solve that problem because, not that spreadsheets are bad, but spreadsheets for reporting is definitely not great. And it's very inefficient and error prone. So we know that there's a massive problem out there. It's a matter of just getting to those people, obviously, which is a whole other part of the story. But the key was, are we solving a problem rather than just building a bunch of technology and then running around trying to find a problem to solve, which is something that we don't want to do. Apple can do it. Steve Jobs can get away with it. He can build the iPad without any use case and go, hey, I don't know, market, figure it out. But startups can't do that. So I would not recommend startups to try to pull that stunt because I don't think you'll probably succeed. The other piece is focus on design. I'm sort of a big advocate of this, and what I mean by design is not graphic design and pretty pictures. It's more about how does the product function, how does it work, and I think that you need to be obsessive about doing that because this leads to customers, it leads to the raving fans, The people that are going to use your product it's the workflows, it's how the product functions, whether it's a developer tool or an end user experience, the design of that product is critical, and you see that in all successful, the Audis or the Apples or all these companies where they're design-centric businesses and they're very successful because of it. I'm just going to rattle through these and Mike can kind of tag on at the end. But the other thing is the failure and the learning part, I think, is critical again. For most of what we're doing at Indicee is we have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of things that we run into along the way. And for us, it is about how quickly we can iterate those ideas that we have and figure out whether they're going to work in the market or not. And the ability for us to do that quickly is so important, because if we don't, we're going to run out of cash. And that's a really critical thing. So we spend a lot of our time really thinking about this whole, how do we iterate and fail and learn? And I think the single biggest metric in a startup is not, your marketing metrics and everything, it's learning. That is the #1 metric. And here's my message, I think, about VCs is that if I walk into Mike's office and say to Mike, I have screwed up everything, I've done every possible error you can possibly imagine before I came to you, he's going to go, this is great, because he's not going to spend my money screwing up after I get this investment money. So the quicker you can screw up and have the list of 20 things that didn't work and the things that work, the better off you're going to be in being able to sell an investor on your venture. And I think that's a really critical thing, because when I went and pitched in the Silicon Valley, I was sitting in boardrooms with, or before I even got into the boardroom, with 2 guys in front of me, 2 guys after me. They get hundreds of pitches every year, so why are they going to invest in mine, right? I need to demonstrate, A, that I have something unique, but I've also learned a whole bunch of lessons that I'm not going to make once they give me this money. So I think it's a really critical one.
Let me just jump in here, because I think one of the things I really liked about Mark's pitch when he first came to us is he did have a theory about what his strongest selling point was. And from Mark's point of view, it was the team. Now, as it happens, we didn't actually see it that way. It's not to say that we didn't think they were a great-looking team. But in our shop, we're always looking to, we talk about opportunities, deals, and we're saying, okay, well, what is it about this thing? And it invariably boils down to one of 4 things. The team, certainly, the market, the technology, or momentum. And we talk about what the bet is. And one of the things that we find when entrepreneurs come to us is often it's not clear to them what the strongest selling feature of their opportunity is. And Mark's right. There's somebody that's just left the room, and there's somebody who's right behind them. And so if you don't have a theory about what it is that's best about your company, it's unlikely that we're going to develop a theory. Now, in Mark's case, we were actually very intrigued with the market. And so part of our strategy is to look for things, that have a big global market opportunity. And there's no question that Mark's company has that and a way of going after it that's highly differentiated. So we clearly like that. But we're also interested in companies that make sense here. We're a regional investor. We don't invest all over North America. So we really look hard at whether companies have a bunch of advantages that offset the disadvantages of being in Vancouver. And there are some disadvantages for that. And then finally, we're just interested in things that we have a clue about. And, or we can find somebody who can interpret the opportunity to us. So in the case of Indicee, we like the market, and we'd looked at a whole bunch of business intelligence related companies, because as you might imagine with Crystal and Business Objects, now SAP here, there were lots of people that had learned something about the opportunity and were intent upon pursuing it in their own way. So we'd probably seen a dozen companies at least that had been spun off from Crystal. And so in some respects, when Mark showed up with his team hypothesis and his product idea, he was a vehicle, his company was a vehicle through which we could pursue that interest in the market. And then, of course, we were looking for something that we understood, and it happened that I and somebody else in my company both were reasonably familiar with the business intelligence market because of things we'd done in our past lives. So, not only does your business idea have to align with the company's strategy, but I think there's or your investor's strategy, there's a bit of luck and as far as whether people actually know what you're talking about when you walk in the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Mark, we've got less than a minute to maybe
Okay, less than a minute. Well, use your government programs. You know about that one. The one thing I will say, and it's just tagging on what Mike was just talking about, is using your network effectively. I think one of the things that I did with my angel investing is I spent a lot of time sort of hand-picking my angel investors, and one of the things that I felt that was important was going out and finding sort of the kingpins of the different groups and finding those people, getting them to buy into the idea, and they tell all the other angel investors about you. So if you're out there angel investing, I would highly recommend you pull that strategy. Don't try to hit you're not going to be able to pitch all these guys. Hit one of them that knows 10 of them and let them tell your story for you. And I think that was really valuable when I went to the VC round, is Mike actually got in on the angel round. So that was a really valuable thing, is I convinced Yaletown, or Mike convinced himself, I'm not sure which way, to jump in on the angel round, which is not that common for a VC to do that. Usually they kind of wait for a little bit later stage, but I think Yaletown is a little bit more progressive in that arena. So, you know, get the right network, find the right people in order to be able to spread your word rather than you having to do it all on your own. So I'll wrap it there.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks Mark and Mike. Thank you.